Welcome to another episode of the STR Sisterhood. I'm your host, Stacey St, and I am so darned excited to spend some time with you today. Now, before we jump into this episode, I'm going to share a quote with you that I recently read. And it says, "One of the secrets to staying young is to always do things you don't know how to do, to keep learning." What beautiful words. And I couldn't agree more. They came to us from American chef and food editor, Ruth Reichl. Ruth, you're a smart lady. All right, friends, in this episode, we are sitting down with Jennifer Spencer, and we are talking all about her journey and how to actually go from relying solely on the OTAs to having a solid direct booking strategy. I can't wait for you to meet her. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Jennifer. So today we are joined by Jennifer Spencer. And Jennifer, I have so many things I'm excited to talk with you about. First of all, though, just want to say thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. No, it's such a pleasure to be here on the podcast. I'm super excited.
Yay! Well, let's start off and just share a little bit with our audience about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been in the business for over 10 years. I got started like most of us did, just as a single vacation rental, kind of just fell into it like many of us do. But now I do help vacation rental owners move beyond just being another Airbnb by building more independent and profitable business. But as I said, I started 10 years ago, before Airbnb was even in my market. It's actually crazy. So I started with a property in the Canadian Rockies, a ski place, and then we later expanded to Maui. So I like to say we go from ski to sea.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And I will say that my vote is the sea. So I would spend much more time in Maui.
God, I like both. Actually, I love the mountains, but yes, it's nice to have both options.
Right. I'm curious, how did you get started? I know you said you kind of fell into it. What was that? What was that like?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always been into real estate, like always. I actually bought my first property when I was like 24, just crazy, and just loved real estate. And so moved to Calgary and started my family here. And we were going back and forth to the mountains all the time because we were a ski family. And so we were like, well, it's just a lot of back and forth. It would be really nice if we had just a place in the mountains. So we bought a place in the mountains, and then we were like, oh, when we're not using it, we'll rent it out, right? And again, this is 10 years ago. Nobody was really doing this. Like I said, Airbnb wasn't even in my market. And so we started doing it. And first one, loved it, loved hosting guests, and super successful. It turned into it still is a 6-figure business. So that's how we kind of got started with that. And then in 2021, we bought in Maui because I wanted to just sort of expand. And I'd love to actually buy way more properties. I mean, as I'm sure we all do, but sort of managing the two right now. And so like I said, just fell into it. It wasn't like it was a plan. I didn't realize I was going to love it as much as I do. I just love the whole industry and hosting, and so it kind of just aligned with everything I like. I like real estate, like travel, like interior design. Well, it's all there.
All the things, I know. And then what made you have an aha moment where you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can blend my background in marketing to further support my business, but potentially help other people? What did that path look like?
Yeah. So the path that kind of probably fell into that a little bit as well. I do have a corporate sales and marketing background. I work for a lot of big companies like Unilever and Kraft Food, doing the whole bit. And so my aha moment was actually when, and I don't know if you remember this moment back, I think it was 2016, when Expedia bought HomeAway or Vrbo at the time, VRBO. And I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'm feeling things are going to change, and then maybe not change in a way that I'm going to like. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to get a website up and running. So I got a website up and running. I started to it took all of my skills that I have from my corporate, background, and I just applied it to my vacation rental business. And so I started doing that. And then And then I just, like, I was in Facebook groups a lot and I started helping people, and I would be like, I do this and I do that. And then people are like DMing me and saying like, oh, could you help me with that? Or can you tell me? And so I had resources and started, you know what I mean? So I just started to kind of build. And then I onboarded a property management system around the same time, because again, if you want to take direct bookings, you need to have the right systems and the right tools in place. And that one's a big one. And same thing, I'm kind of a bit of a geek. So I totally geeked out on the systems and the software. Price Labs too. I actually got Price Labs up in 2018. And again, people started reaching out to me. And then I was like, I think I could maybe have a business here. I just all of my loves. So my passions all together. So then I actually left my corporate job a couple years ago and went all in on this and helping other hosts, kind of, move beyond Airbnb, have a more diversified approach, have a direct booking strategy, bringing in the tools, all of that. So that's kind of how I got started in helping others.
I love that. And, as we both know, Airbnb is a wonderful platform to be on. What I see, and I'm curious to get your perspective on this, is I see so many folks relying solely on Airbnb. And I think you and I are both aligned where I believe Airbnb is a very important part of our overall strategy, but it shouldn't be the only part of our overall strategy.
Yeah.
What you feel like make the biggest differences when it comes to shifting from an Airbnb only approach to an approach that also incorporates direct bookings? What shifts do people need to make beyond the tech or resources?
Yeah. I think you want it. Like it's a mindset a little bit, right? And you want to run a business. You really want to run and I don't mean I don't want to say real business, but like you want more. I think you have to have that desire to want to have more control, to have a more balanced approach to your business. And also, I think for scalability, if you want to grow and you want more properties, I think you need to act like, it's a business, not just a side hustle on Airbnb, on Airbnb. And I agree with you. Airbnb is an important part. They sure make it easy to get up and running. They bring in the bookings, but if you're really wanting to grow whether it's one or two or an empire, you need to have a diversified strategy for sure, which includes building your own direct bookings. And you also make more money too. I mean, right? Let's not forget that. I mean, I don't think that should be your driving force, but it can be for some people too. But I think because there is work involved in doing it, you need to have the mindset around wanting to do it and really want to do it. Yeah.
Right. And so when you say diversified strategy, help us understand what that means and how someone can create a diversified strategy.
Yeah. So I just believe that you should be advertising or marketing your property on as many channels as possible that makes sense for your business. So definitely the two big ones being Airbnb and Vrbo. I think booking.com can be a great platform for some people. It might not be for all. Any regional sites, like Maui has a great regional site and Florida has quite a few. I think Alabama does. There's a couple of really great local regional sites, which I think are also great. And then there's quite a few new players out there as well. I think depending on your property, it's worth exploring some of those ones that maybe bring in last minute bookings. I think there's Wimstay. There's a few other, players out there that I think are good. And then of course, direct bookings. I mean, you have to have an avenue for people to come back and book and stay with you. So whether and that's two-pronged. One is you've got a presence so people can find you and book direct. So maybe they find you on Airbnb because you have a property name and they Google that name and then they come across your website. So then, you take direct bookings there. And then your repeat bookings. I mean, oh my goodness, those are the most profitable bookings that you're ever going to have, So when someone comes and they stay with you, maybe they book through Airbnb or Vrbo or whoever the first time, but then when they come back that second time, they better be booking through your direct booking website. So to me, that's what diversified means. It means, go on as many channels as possible that are a good fit for your business, a good fit for your market, and match your values, I guess, like what you want. And then obviously, take the direct bookings so that you have more control, you are more in charge, you own that guest experience, and you're more profitable ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, what are some of your favorite ways and strategies to garner those repeat bookings? Do you have some favorite tools in your toolbox?
Yeah. So I would say my favorite tools start with, and I know this is earth shattering, is guest messaging. Like the guest messaging is so important. So from the very first time somebody contacts me, doesn't matter how they contact me or where they contact me, I've obviously that guest experience, but I start to nurture them towards direct bookings. Now, obviously not on the channels. I mean, you have to be really careful what you say on Airbnb or Vrbo, but once they come and stay with me, then I have some critical messaging. Also what I have in the house. So I have business cards, I have guest book, I have a little welcome sign with a QR code so that they can easily find me or at least bookmark my website for a future stay. So that's kind of what so the guest messaging is super important. And then once they've actually, come and then left, then, I collect all emails, okay, which is also one of the real reasons that you need to have a property management system is because at time of booking, you can actually collect those emails, even if they've booked through Airbnb or Vrbo or whoever. And then I will do email marketing to past guests. So, and again, I like the email marketing doesn't necessarily work for everybody if maybe you don't have the opportunity, like if people aren't coming back to your market all the time on repeat stays, but like it still can be great for just brand awareness, referral business, and all of that. So I do that. And then I also sprinkle in a little social media as well. So those are kind of my big tools, but I would say the easiest ones to implement is definitely your guest messaging and like what you say. And then also I think email marketing is highly effective and really easy to do as well. So yeah.
I have a couple of questions for you on this whole topic. I'm curious, what is your opinion on guest messaging via AI? Because it is all the rage right now. People are implementing it into their businesses left and right.
Yeah.
I will tell you, as a consumer, I've not implemented AI into my guest messaging. As a consumer, it kind of drives me bonkers when I, reach out to some business and I can tell very quickly that I'm not talking to a human.
Yeah.
So number one, what is your opinion on AI involved with guest messaging? And number two, have you incorporated it into your business?
Okay. So first of all, I use AI for like everything. I'm like ridiculously all into it, but I will say that I am not it still requires critical thinking. Like you have to it does, maybe takes 20 or 30% off your workload, but it doesn't do everything. And you have to still like really make sure that it's your voice and representing what you want to say and all of that. So I say definitely use it as a time saver. And I'll explain where I really use it, where I really love it. And so, yes, I have incorporated it into this business, into my consulting business, as well as into my guest messaging, but not fully on like autopilot. So where I love it is to soften, especially around difficult conversations. So when you're dealing with a difficult situation, what I love about it is like, I will write like my message and then I'll throw it into ChatGPT to just soften it all out.
Yeah.
And so I use it there because I feel like, and there's where it saves me time because I would spend like hours wordsmithing on an email just to make sure that I said something right. And that I'm trying to like move the guests along into a conversation, if it's difficult, getting us to like a good point as an example. So when it comes to like using it like AI in terms of the everyday messaging, I mean, all my messaging is automated, right? So I've already written that messaging. So it doesn't change, like the standard sort of what I would call my guest messaging pathway is standardized and automated. I will say, I mean, that's been automated. I've been doing that since 2018. I have people respond to my messages all the time because I don't think they realize that it's an automated message. So I think that's, obviously the key part. So I don't think that'll change on that. And then when it just comes to like a lot of the property management system tools, I mean, pretty much every tool out there has AI. And I use it. Like it's a nice head start, but I still change it to make sure that it's, sounding like me. But I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is that I think guests do realize that there's automated messaging already in play. So as long as the AI message isn't completely like out there, I think it's good. It can be a time saver, but definitely not just a set it and forget it. Not like just like your pricing. You don't want to set it and forget it.
Right. Exactly. And I think so often, again, what I'm seeing people get excited by the fact is that it can save a ton of time. And I use AI in my business quite a bit, but I have not incorporated AI into guest messaging specifically beyond the automations, right? Yeah. But if somebody reaches out and says, hey, I can't find the ice cream scoop, where would I find it? It's my team responding, not AI, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The next thing I want to ask you is circling back on how you delicately introduce or prime your audience for direct bookings within your guest messaging on the platform. So can you talk us through, peel back the curtains a little bit, talk us through what that might look like?
Yeah. So you have to be careful for sure, right? Especially, I think was it May or June, Airbnb rolled out some new things that they did not want you to be trying to redirect bookings off the platform in any way. And they even said future bookings, which is a bit interesting. But so I used to sort of have a bit of messaging at the very end of their stay through the channel. But I've changed that because I want to play by the rules. And so, but what I do have, so I do take a security deposit for all my bookings. Doesn't matter where they come from. So for I do it on Airbnb. And so when the security deposit gets released, it's the only email that I send to my Airbnb guests. I do keep everything else on channel. And in that email, I say, here's your security deposit back. Thank you for being such a great guest or something along those lines. If you would like to come back and book again, contact me directly to save or something along those lines. People keep that email and they will hold on to it. And then like months later, they respond to that email and they say, oh, hey, we're interested in coming back. So that's kind of the only the way when I do, but I do try. I don't put anything else on the channels.
Sure.
But I will also say that in my messaging, everything is, my properties both have names. And my name is everywhere in those descriptions. And it's, those savvy guests out there, those savvy travelers are going to take my name. They're going to Google it. And my names are unique enough that they're easy, they're simple, but they're unique. And people will find my website and they'll book direct. So I'm sending sort of subtle signals that way as well. But yeah, it's a fine balance. Like I said, you don't want to get yourself kicked off the channel.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
No, we don't. I love it. All right. So I want to shift the conversation a little bit and I want to talk about helping a property owner go from staying afloat in a market to outperforming the market. What are some of the top recommendations that you have found to help a property, again, make a jump in performance compared to their comp set?
Yeah. So, okay, well, there's a lot that can be done. And I guess, so you're talking about like a larger property manager or just like anybody kind of?
Anybody.
So first and foremost is listing optimization, like if you're looking to outperform, especially on the channels. And I see a lot. I mean, that you don't need to spend much time on Airbnb looking at other people's listings like that. You completely don't know who they are to see how poorly some of these descriptions are written, photos, everything. So if somebody's looking to outperform, immediately just optimize your listing. We'll start. When I think about outperforming too, I don't think about just occupancy, and I'm sure you don't either. So you can increase profitability in your business through upsells, And again, having the right tools in place that automatically send messages to guests to let them know that they could extend their stay for a small discount, for example, selling upsells on early check-ins and late checkouts. Again, all depends on your market and your own hospitality approach. So doing that, I would say also, again, depending on your market, if you're looking to outperform and there's a lot of sameness in your market, obviously you need to get, I think, a little bit more deliberate with your interior design and making sure that you make a statement somehow that you stand out, that you have some sort of an angle, like that you need to look at doing that. What else? Pricing. So, I mean, obviously, you need to have a dynamic pricing tool if you really want to outperform. I mean, nobody is going, you cannot manually, especially you have multiple properties. If you are, I mean, I'm sure all the big property management companies are using dynamic pricing of some sort, but like if you want to optimize, you have to, and not just on pricing. Like one of the biggest things I love dynamic pricing tools for is managing my minimum night stays so that I don't end up with unbookable dates in my calendar because of my longer minimum night stays. As it starts to get closer to the date, that it starts to reduce my minimum night stays because of course I want the 5 or 6 or 7 night stay when it's 6 months in advance. But if I'm a month out, give me 2 nights, I'm good, right? But I don't want to be manually doing that. So, putting the tools in. So even just that, putting those things in place you will for sure outperform your market, or at least outperform what you did the year before if you put those in place. Yeah. And those ideas.
I think it's so important to also, first of all, call out dynamic pricing tools are a game changer. So if you're listening or watching and you're not using a dynamic pricing tool, if you take one thing away from this conversation, make sure that you are looking into a dynamic pricing tool. But I hear so many folks say this, and I'm curious if you see it as well. Well, yeah, I'm doing, optimization of my pricing. I have Price Labs. And I always say that Price Labs is a tool. It is a car, if you will. You need someone to drive the car.
Yes.
So it's not as simple as a set it and forget it. It is absolutely critical that we are doing proactive pricing optimization, even with a dynamic pricing tool. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'm smiling the whole time, but as you were starting to lead up, I knew exactly where you were going with your comment. And 100%. Like people think, well, this Price Labs has said that this is what it is. And I'm like, yeah, but like, your market best. Like, it's a tool. It's there to help you. It's there, like I said, to catch it is going to do a better job of managing the market, understanding the data points, giving you recommendations, but ultimately, your market best. And then of course, it does a really good job of, of managing those things that you might miss manually. But you have to have a strategy going into using them, right? And how you set it up, you're setting up guardrails, right? But you still need to be looking at it. Now, like I know anybody who does revenue management for a living is obviously in daily looking at their accounts. I would say at an absolute minimum, you got to be into your Price Labs once a week, 100%. Like I say to my clients, I'm like, every Monday morning, put 20 minutes or 30 minutes into your calendar. And that's just what you do. Every Monday, go and review all of your pricing. Now, if you have lots of open dates or you're like, and it's getting close, then I'm like into my Price Labs daily because I'm like checking out what my competitors are doing, who else is booked. And like, I'm on there, and it was so great. I mean, the dashboards as well, like the data. And I'm not like, I don't think it's like goes overboard, the data that they have in there. Like, I mean, I'm sure you can lose yourself in it. But I don't think anyone needs to do that. Like their one dashboard is amazing, like just to help you make better decisions about what's happening in the market, right?
Yeah.
So 100% you need a dynamic pricing tool, like for sure. And they're not that scary.
They're not. And the other thing I'll just share with you that if you're listening or watching again and you're like, well, I have Price Labs, but I haven't been in 6 months. If that doesn't light you up, delegate the work. Find a revenue manager. There are all types of individuals that offer a revenue management service, large and small. And so I'm also super passionate about making sure that we are doing the work, number one, that is within our genius zone, but it's also work we enjoy. If you don't enjoy that, don't just not do it.
Yeah.
delegate it to someone else.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, I do say that like once you get it set up, especially if you've been really clear about your goals, it isn't a lot of time, but I do agree with you. Like there's so many parts to this business and you're not going to love all of it.
Right.
And so yes, absolutely hand it off to somebody else who's probably going to do a better job than you. And then you can focus your energy on your zone of genius or whatever it is that you love to do. And there's no shame in that, right?
Yeah.
Like there is no shame.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to ask you also, when it comes to direct bookings, you hear people talk about how important it is to have a brand. What are your thoughts on the importance of having a defined and recognizable brand when it comes to a direct booking strategy?
Yeah, I think it's gotten more important for sure. So like 50% of all my bookings are direct. And the reason, And the reason is that, again, I've given my properties a name. So that's the first part I would say of any brand is having that. And people remember the name. And this is the biggest, where I'm like, okay, I've done a good job with my branding, is they mention my property in the review on Airbnb. I love it, right? I'm like, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so I think it's super important. And I think it's even more important because the market has gotten so saturated and there's so many people that jumped into this business, right? I mean, especially in the, during COVID and all of that. And so I think it is really important. But what I have come to think about branding, because branding kind of sounds like, oh, do I have to be a marketer? I'm like, no, think of just your vibe. What is your vibe? What is your property vibe? What is it that you convey as a host? And I think if you kind of think about infusing your vibe into the whole hosting experience, maybe it connects a little bit more with people so they don't have to get like, oh my goodness, I got to have this big brand. I got to have tagline. We got to have logos, the whole bit. It's just like, no. Like you just need to have something where people connect with and remember you by. So I do brand for sure, a name, property name and or company name if you've got multiple properties. Logos for sure. You need to obviously have, have your colors, make sure that people can also recognize you with that. And then I think it's just really important. Like I said, it's your voice. It's how you talk to people in your listing. It's how you talk to people on your website. It's your About Us section on your website. It's how you communicate and exchange, within your exchanges and your messaging. Like all of that is your brand. So yeah, I think it's super, super important to differentiate yourself for sure. Yeah.
I would also add to that a couple of things, and I'd love to get your perspective on these as well. I think it's, for me, understanding your unique value or your unique selling proposition, whether it's for your property or your hosting company, whatever avenue you're taking, if there's nothing unique about you, it can be very difficult to stand out. And we can create a USP by your personal story, by the design of the property, by how you're positioning the property. It could be a unique character of the property, maybe a view or something like that. But I think it's so important to have a very well-defined, unique selling proposition. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, you're bang on. Definitely your key amenities and whatever it is. And this is where, I mentioned this already, is that if you're you have a place that maybe doesn't have its own uniqueness, create something, right? Create it. You can make it. You can make that your uniqueness for sure. So yeah, 100%, whether it's the view or the location or the hot tub or, whatever, multiple things within your property, for sure, you've got to build your brand around that as well. Yeah. So it's kind of it all comes in together, right? Yeah.
And I also want to touch back on guest messaging. We talked about that earlier on. One of the things that I am so passionate about is the way that we speak to our guests. I hear all these internet gurus out there telling you have to have these expensive coffee bars and you have to have, 1,000 thread count Egyptian sheets and fluffy white towels and all the things in order to get a 5-star review. And I'm like, listen, I don't have a coffee bar in any of my properties. Okay. And I get 5-star reviews hand over fist. Not because now the amenities that we offer are indeed an important part. However, the way that we talk to people and the way that we make our guests feel in every interaction, I believe, is paramount.
Yeah.
People say in my reviews over and over and over again how responsive we are and how we went above and beyond, right? And so I believe that's one of the strongest things we can do to build a brand is just make our guests feel good. What are your thoughts?
Well, 100%. It's interesting because I went through my reviews the other day and it spoke a lot to me to see how often people named me personally.
Oh, yeah.
Jennifer this, Jennifer that, like in a positive way. And to me, that speaks volumes. It's not like, oh, the Airbnb host was, it's like everything, they knew my name, right?
Yeah.
And so that immediately to me is the start of a relationship, right? And so I 100% agree that, and this is where AI can help or not help, right? Is that sometimes AI does offer much quicker, easier, nicer things to say than you might if you're like standing in the line at Costco and somebody asks a question and you got to like, yes, yes, the AC works. But I agree with you. Like it's the responsiveness for sure. I think there's being, going above and beyond for your guests. It's also having boundaries, because obviously we're running businesses. So it doesn't mean say yes to everything either. And, and even like, I'm sure you've had this happen too. I've had situations where somebody showed up and it wasn't really a great state. Like they showed up to something that wasn't great. And the way I handled the situation, they still left me a 5-star review and didn't even mention the situation or mentioned we had a bit of a oops and she took care of it.
Yes.
Like, that's what you want, right?
Yes.
So you can turn most negative situations into a positive if you handle it properly. Yeah.
And, early on in my hosting career, I would find that my heart rate would rise, if something happened outside of my control. The air conditioning went out, the refrigerator broke, all the things that happen.
Yeah.
And to your point, we can't control those situations happening, but what we can control is, again, how we handle it for our guests and how we proactively help our guests recognize that we're absolutely in it for them. Like we're here to help them. And so, I had a situation recently where I had a refrigerator go out and I couldn't get one in for like 3 days. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this family just lost all of their food. And so one of the things that I did, and people might think I'm crazy, but I think it's this important. I got on Instagram. No, not Instagram, Instacart. Wow. That tells you I need more coffee. Okay, people. I did not order a refrigerator on Instagram, but I did it on Instacart. And I just got one of those little mini ones from Walmart because I could have that there in 90 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, amazing.
And then the following day, I ordered a fridge, a full-size fridge that was in stock, had it delivered, and it went in the garage because my crazy nice refrigerator wasn't going to be in for several days. So the guests knew I was doing my best to accommodate them.
Of course.
And, again, I got a glowing review afterwards because not because of the situation, but how I handled it. And
for sure. Yeah.
Sometimes it can feel like, wow, I'm just spending money to appease a guest, but it's really about, this is an opportunity to make a guest feel well cared for. And when they feel well cared for, they're going to share that with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And they know that you care. Like, you know what I mean? They feel well cared for, but they can feel that you care so much that you would do all of that. Right.
Yeah.
So 100%. Yeah. And it's just so important. It doesn't take much. I mean, like, sounds like that was a lot, but like, that's amazing. That's amazing. And that doesn't happen very often, right?
Yeah.
And that's a fridge. I mean, that's fundamental to the booking.
Yep.
I mean, you could have lost the booking. They could have checked out legitimately and said, we don't have a fridge. You made
Mhm.
it happen. They stayed. You got a 5-star review, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. From your perspective, what do you feel like are some of the biggest challenges that people are navigating when it comes to shifting from just one platform, whether it's Airbnb or Vrbo, into having a diversified direct booking strategy? We've talked about different, avenues or different spokes of the wheel, shall we say. What do you feel like some of the biggest challenges people face are when making that shift, and how can they navigate them?
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge is doing it,
Mhm.
taking action, and trying to do it on your own. So I would say that, I think many of my clients, probably your clients as well, they're busy. We're busy hosts. Some of us aren't doing this just full time. I mean, we've got full-time careers and family. And so I would say, first of all, take small steps to get things done and seek help. Like, it's okay to seek help and get, support where you need it, the guidance where you need it. And so putting the pieces together at the start can feel like a lot. And so you don't want to feel overwhelmed, because then you'll never see it through.
Right.
The thing is once you get it all in place, it makes life so much easier. You feel more in control of your business. You feel less vulnerable. Every time Airbnb comes out with a new rule or new host fees or whatever, you feel like I got this. Like, I got half my business coming from elsewhere. I don't have to stress all these details. So I think that the biggest challenge is taking those first steps to decide that you're going to do it, and just finding your way through it, and finding the help that you need in order to get through it. Because it can be challenging. Like, I'm not going to lie, right? Like,
Sure.
Yeah. But it's worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, I mean, there are so many folks out there to support. I know, you offer resources, I offer resources, and so many other people do too. And so I think what's most important, if you're listening or watching, that it's okay to ask for help, number one, and find the support that matches what you need and what you're looking for. Everyone offers something unique. And so I think it's just really, really critical to have the people in your back pocket that you're like, oh, I connect with them, right? Would you agree?
I totally agree. And I just think there's so busy, right? Like here's the one thing with AI, there's so much content out there now. And so there's so much information, right? But getting the expertise on the how is what is what the challenge a lot of time is. So find your person or people, and invest in that, because it's going to save you so much time in doing it. It's going to get done right the first time, right? And then you just have that support network, and you meet a pile of people through it too, right? Like, I know you have an amazing community, and so you can learn from people who've done it before you. So 100%, it shouldn't be a challenge. And if you are feeling like it's a challenge, then seek the help, find the help.
And honestly, you can learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. Which I love, I learn from other people's mistakes all the time, and I help people learn from mine.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Or even just shorten sometimes, I do a lot of research a lot of times, and I don't always want to do the research. And there's always some other nerd out there besides me who has done the research. And so I'm like, here's what I'm looking at doing. What tools did you look at? Give me the lowdown. Which one did you go with, and why? And then if it's somebody that I trust, I'm like, done. Like, I'm not going to spend hours doing the research if I know this person and I know, I'm like, good enough for me.
Right. So fun. Okay. I want to move to what I call the lightning round. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask for these next questions with the very first thing that come to mind. Hopefully they're not too hard.
Okay. Let's hope not.
First question is, where is your favorite place to vacation?
Well, I love the mountains. So I'm going to say it's somewhere in the mountains is my favorite, my happy place. So
There you go.
yeah.
And what do you like to do when you're in the mountains? Just like hike, ski,
Everything. Yeah.
everything.
I love to, we hike, I run, I do trail runs, skiing, walking, even just walking the dog. We even golf out there. And I just love, honestly, I love just relaxing, like just, downtime, kind of just chill. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Next question is, what's one place you've never been that you want to visit?
Yeah, I would like, well, oh geez, so many, but I'd like to get to like Japan over. I've never been anywhere over there at all, anywhere close to that. And so, yeah, I would like to do that. And I'd also like to get to Eastern Canada. I have never been to Eastern Canada. I know it's crazy. We were big, right? Yeah. So that's also on my list for sure is, yeah. And then I also have to say, okay, I want to visit every single national park in the US. That's like, at some point I would love Stacey to get like one of those Sprinter vans.
Yeah.
And just like drive from like place to place. That would be cool too. So now I don't know if I want to do it that much time with my husband, but I would like to do it.
That's so funny. We won't tell him that part.
No, we won't tell him. We can cut that. Maybe we need to cut that part of the podcast.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. All right, next question. What's one thing you know now that you wished you knew when you were starting out in the world of short-term rentals?
Well, okay. So one thing, okay, this is maybe a bit more of an evolution. I'm not sure if this is going to totally answer your question, but I would have to say just regulation. That I wish I knew the impact it can potentially have on your business, on your market, on your decisions, on where you invest. Now, about 10 years ago, that wasn't even a thing. Again, never mind Airbnb not being in the market. There weren't all the regulations, but I wish I guess I would say like, I'd take that into consideration a lot more in my future decisions around in my business and where I'd invest. Yeah.
So I'm curious, just following up on that, I know Maui was hit by some devastating wildfires. And from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, they've put in significant regulations not favorable to short-term rental hosts. Have you been impacted by those?
So that's pending. See, and this is the challenge is that there's misinformation about that. So there is a bill pending. It has not been voted on and it is not law. So, but yes, I mean, it impacts, I mean, like, if you think, oh, Maui, you can't do short-term rentals, then what do you think that does for bookings? Somebody thinks you're not allowed, right?
Right.
So the fires definitely impacted our business. Horrible what happened there. And that, just impacted tourism in general. Yeah. And then this pending regulation as well. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have to worry. When we bought, it was, it's long. I'm not going to get into all of it. It's complicated. It's, it's not just about like getting rid of short-term rentals. But yeah, when I first bought, especially our mountain property, I mean, there were no regulations. There are here now too. In BC, there's regulations there as well. I just went through the permitting process and got my permit, no problem. And Maui, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I think that's something that everybody needs to think about seriously before they make an investment in, for short-term rentals. What's pending? I would say you're better to invest in something that's already got everything in place. At least you kind of know what you're facing, right? Versus getting into these markets where the regulation kind of sideswipes you and then you're like, oh my goodness, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Okay, cool. Next question. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
That's tricky. Like in short-term rentals?
No,
anything.
In general, in life.
Well, I recently got, and this is a true story. Recently, somebody gave me advice. I didn't want the advice at the time. Wasn't in a good mindset to hear advice. But I have a tendency, so I do a lot. I have a very busy brain and I do a lot. I do, like, some people look at me and they're like, oh my goodness, like, how do you accomplish all of that? Because I go. And so I have a tendency to get kind of overwhelmed from that.
Mhm.
And so I will sometimes say, I'm so busy, I'm busy and I don't have time for this, or I don't have time for that. And somebody said to me, advice was, stop saying that. Just stop saying you're too busy for things that you're telling yourself that you're too busy. And it's kind of like a negative thought. And I was like, okay, I'm like hearing that, but they're right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great advice. And, I won't bore you with my own journey at this moment, but I wrote about that in my book a lot. Our subconscious mind will automatically come up with negative thoughts, and the negative thoughts are often on repeat. Like we have thousands of thoughts each and every day, and the vast majority of them are negative. And so when we're telling ourselves we can't do this, or when we have a limiting belief around something, we're programming our future with that very outcome. So whoever gave you that advice was very wise.
It was good advice. I stop myself now.
Girl.
It raised the awareness for me around, it starts to come out of my mouth and I'm like, nope.
I'm so proud of you for that. I'm so proud of you for that. I say that AI is the biggest gift we can give to ourselves, but not the AI that we're thinking about. It's awareness and intention. When we're aware of our thoughts and we put intention behind them, our lives can change. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
No, agreed. Yeah. It's, big minds. I've personally had a lot of big mindset shifts, like just going through this journey and helping others. And it's been amazing. So
cool. All right. Last question. What's one thing and or person that you're grateful for today?
Well, can I put like 3 in there?
Sure.
I'm grateful for my kids. I just love them so much. So yeah, I just grateful and proud, I guess. Yeah.
Your kiddos, how old are they?
Yeah, 20, almost 22, 20, and 16.
Wow. So fun. Boys, girls?
I have 2 girls and a boy. Yeah. So, and my youngest is still ski racing. So we're still out to the mountains to our place every weekend. In fact, actually, almost living there more than I'm living in my city here in Calgary. Yeah, 5 days a week we're hitting it's just started. So yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. And when you say ski racing, does that mean like cross country but on skis?
Alpine, downhill.
Oh, alpine. Okay.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay. So like speed, they clock the speed?
Yep. Yeah,
and does that make you nervous as a mom? Because I'm feeling nervous for you.
Well, they start young and they've got the skills. So, but yeah, I mean, of course, there is some danger involved when they're going 100 kilometers. I don't know, moving down the hill like crazy.
Wow. Jennifer, this has been so fun. If our listeners want to learn more about you, what's the best place for them to find you online?
Yeah, they can either come and follow me on Instagram is a great place because I'm always posting fun stuff there at The Host Approach. And then also, or just on my website, thehostapproach.com, they can come and reach out to me there and fill in a form if they want to get in touch. So yeah, or reach out, DM me, whatever, any way is great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. This was such a fun convo.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
Hey girl, before you go, grab your calendar and block out February 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2026. Why? Because those are the dates of the Short-Term Rental Virtual Summit for Women. Let me tell you, this year is going to be better than ever, and we've got some amazing surprises lined up for you. Stay tuned for more details, but in the meantime, save the dates, February 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2026, and I can't wait to see you there.